Welcome back to the Making the Madness YouTube channel. It's Sean here again. You could find me on Twitter at Sean02MTM. Follow me if you're not already. So now let's get into the news of Tyrell Terry deciding to forego his 3 years of eligibility and head to the NBA. This is expected news, in my opinion. I always saw him as a guy who was more planning on leaving than just testing the waters, because due to the lack of shooting point guards in this class, he shot 40% from deep last season, has a really smooth jump shot. You look at Nico Mannion, Trey Jones, those are guys who aren't shooters. They could be eventually. They're more of a high upside guy than Terry, I guess, but Terry's a steady player. I see him as like a Patty Mills type in the NBA. He's spent over a decade in the league with the Trailblazers and Spurs. I can kind of see him playing a role like that in the NBA. I think he'd be perfect for that. But now going into the college basketball for Stanford, what this means, I think it hurts them a bit just because of how good Terry was last season. But he wasn't their best player. He wasn't their most important player. That was Oscar da Silva. And you saw when he got hurt against Colorado, when him and Evan Batty collided, da Silva had a nasty head injury. They blew that lead. They were up double digits. They blew the game. Da Silva is the most important player on this team. They run through Oscar da Silva. That's not a surprise. He's a very talented guy. I'd like to see him bulk up and become more of a five-man. That would be pretty ideal. But if he doesn't, he's going to be first team All Pac-12 again, probably like he was this past season. And then you add Zaire Williams, the number one recruit in Stanford history, passing the Lopez twins. Williams is he could play 3 and the 4. In the NBA, he's going to be a really good wing guy. Maybe like Paul George. He's a really good shooter. He's a really good defender. Really smart. He's super athletic. I mean, he's just a very talented guy. He's going to be huge for Stanford. I could see him being a first team All Pac-12 guy too. I just think that with Terry was a freshman last season, although they're different positions, they replaced Terry with Zaire Williams, and I think you take that every day of the week. At the guard spots, you got Dejon Davis and Bryce Wills, two very different players. Dejon Davis is a true point guard who hasn't improved in his career at all. He's gotten worse. His first season, he had 11 a game and shot really well from 3, but that's gotten worse each year. He's gone down from nearly 40% to the low 30s shooting from deep. He's a really good point guard. He's a great facilitator. But last season with Terry, that took his role into a different direction. So I'd like to see him continue that development and become the lead ball handler again. I think that's important. I think he's going to be a very good player this year. And then with Bryce Wills, you got a guy who's a good defender, but he cannot shoot the ball at all. That's an issue from a guy who's your shooting guard. He gets to the line a bit, isn't good there either. He's a really good athlete, but I just would like to see him become an actual serviceable shooter, which he's not at all. That's an issue. And then you have, if he can't figure it out shooting-wise, I mean, you got some guys who can step in. You got Brandon Angel. You got Michael O'Connell. You got Max Morrell, who's not really a guard, but not a guard at all. But, I mean, he has a jumper. So these are guys who can step in. You can move the lineup around. Spencer Jones is a wing/4 guy who I'm a big fan of, has a very beautiful jump shot. And these are all kind of guys who play the same position with Jones, Williams, Morrell, Angel. They all play the 3-4. How's Jared Hass going to maneuver the lineup around? He hasn't had this much flexibility during his time in Palo Alto. I'd like to see how this will prove how good of a coach he is, how he can maneuver this lineup. Then you have Jaden Belair, who's a guy who showed talent when he plays. He's off the bench right now, but he's a talented scorer. He's a 6'9" forward. Not a great shooter, but he's athletic. He's very talented. And then the biggest issue with Stanford, and the reason they have an issue becoming a successful program, is due to all the transfers in college basketball and them not being able to bring in transfers due to academic requirements. They operate like an Ivy League school academically, but they're a power conference sports school. And they can't bring in transfers, but they can lose them, like Reed Travis to Kentucky, like Cormac Ryan to Notre Dame, like Isaac White, who ended up going pro. That's just something that Jared Hass is going to have to deal with. I mean, it's tough. You don't love to see that from your team at all. But if he can build a culture and a program, that's something you can work through. And I think this season Stanford's going to be very good. Should be Jared Hass's first NCAA tournament bid. I like a lot of what this team has. I think they're just as good as they were last season, where they could have got a bid. Losing Terry hurts, but I still think they're a great team. That'll do it for what I think about Stanford for next season. Follow me on Twitter again at Sean02MTM. Thanks for checking it out. Leave a like and subscribe. See you next time.